All right, for segment one today, we're going to finish up talking about Mutant Elysium. And I probably should have, instead of saying the word Elysium on that thumbnail there, I probably should have said Elysium 1, because that's specifically what this is. The game's Elysium, but it's about Elysium 1. But it is what it is. We're going to talk about life in the Enclave, and we are going to talk about what it is you do. If you remember, in Mutant Year Zero, you had the Ark. Mutant Gen Lab Alpha, you had the Resistance. In Mutant Megatron, you had your work orders. Well, what is it you do when you play Mutant Elysium? And we're going to find out here in just a moment. We believe that role-playing games should take place in fantastic worlds. The focus of the game should be on role-playing and having a good time. The core values of #RPGate and any good tabletop group are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural, organic inclusion, not forced diversity. The charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national, nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Please refer to the description below for the link to where you can make your hopefully tax-deductible donation. Join us Thursday and Saturday evenings on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth to watch Heathen Dog and his team of dirty casuals play multiplayer games for your mockery and enjoyment. Here on our YouTube channel, you can watch these game-related segments live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time, or check out the Friday Night Chill stream where our panel of guests opine, comment, and editorialize on the TTRPG hobby as a whole. Please like this video and leave a comment to appease the algorithm gods. Share this video on your favorite social media platforms to help us peer out of the shadows cast over us. And if you have not done so already, please subscribe to Legion of Myth for more tabletop RPG goodness. All right, there we are with our Mutant Year Zero, Mutant Elysium book. And let's scroll. I think it's page 118, if I remember correctly. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I skip. One, because I covered it. Oh, that's not good. I covered it in the first episode. We talked about some of this. And then the other one is because there's just a lot of information here that if this was just a strict read through would be good. But yeah, here it's too much information for what we're giving out. Where's 118? Oh, that is 121. Did you see that on here? This is the Game Master section. It says Judicators are not the good guys.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Development levels. Now you might remember development levels from Mutant Year Zero and actually Mutant Megatron. So Elysium 1 is a society in decline, despite the proud words of the ruling houses. To measure the state of the Enclave, 4 development levels are used, just like in Ark of Mutant Year Zero. Unlike in the Ark, the development levels in Elysium 1 start high, but then decrease. So if you remember the Ark in Mutant Year Zero, it started at crap and you were trying to build it up.
Right.
Could you imagine that, though, being from Mutant Elysium and then, okay, you finish this whole thing, right? And now you're out in the world and you're like, well, we got to build it again? Well, it failed last time and we actually had a pristine environment. Now I'm out here in the muck and the rot and the horde, this whole nastiness. And you want me to build this up? Come out.
I'm good.
Yeah, just mutate me. The development levels used in Mutant Elysium are production, security, science, and culture. And all development levels start the game at 80, and that is such a tease.
Because it's so close.
Yeah.
No, it's 60 plus. That's the highest. Okay, never mind.
The levels drop during play as a result of the incidences, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, that occur in the Enclave. Read more in Chapter 10. Sure. The efforts of you and the other Judicators can slow down the decline, but you cannot stop it. There's too much going on around you. That's the problem. You can, when you plug this leak over here, 3 more pop in over there. You can't stop it. So, fill in the development levels, yada yada. So let's see what they are. Production. So at that 80, so when you start the game, production shuffles along and provides most of the Enclave's inhabitants with what they need. Prices are unaffected, and we'll look at the prices. I think they're on the next page, 119. But at the end here, there's a desperate lack of food and other basic necessities. Looting now breaks out even in the core, which is where all the richy riches live. Power is permanently cut to several sectors in the deep, and prices are 4 times as high as normal, if the goods are available at all.
Okay, so as the gameplay commences, everything gets harder, more expensive. Uh, I'm sure that certain technological levels. I want to see that because with all the other games, you had to get to a certain development level to have a certain technology,
Mhm.
right? But in this one, when you go below a certain level, do you lose access to that technology? That I'd like to
You
see that,
don't lose access if you have it right now, but
but
you
you can't
do
gain
lose.
it.
Right.
Okay.
Also, you might find that it's harder to power it, use it, get ammunition for it, read it, whatever. So next is security. Again, starting the game, crime and other incidences are common, but security guards and adjudicators manage to maintain law and order overall. Common because of the deep. It's not really
Mm.
common in the core, and certainly not common in I forget what they call the upper echelon. But at the end, when you're down to 20, looting and riots break out in the core. Security guards and even adjudicators are openly attacked on the streets.
Wow.
The deep is largely lawless, with gangs controlling different sectors. What you'll find about the game, when I read through this, I actually read through this twice to make sure that I had this feel right. The game starts off very investigative. It starts off very support the house, support the family kind of thing.
Mhm.
It ends up very combative and support the house, support the family kind of thing. So you got some prices. So imagine emergency ration of food goes from 10 cents to 40 cents.
Yep. Wait, they actually use money here?
Credit systems like Shadowrun.
Oh, okay.
The development of science. Oh, yeah, we don't need this is science. Despite the lack of resources, the scholars of the Academy continue unwaveringly in their work to prepare humanity to return to the surface world. Remember, the whole goal is to go to the surface world, but the reason you don't go there is because it's filled with rot.
Yeah, it's garbage.
Once a year, they send people out, and those people come back. Go, nope.
No, it's garbage out there. But this is a relative thing. At 60 plus, you'd think the outside is garbage,
Yeah.
but at 5,
Well, the Academy is
it doesn't look so
empty.
bad. The comparisons are pretty good.
So
It's like
at the 5 that Heathen Dog was talking about, it says the Academy is largely empty. Apart from a few exceptions, all research has been abandoned, and the remaining skilled scientists try to save what little they can of the knowledge they have accumulated. They're hoarding their
oh wow,
notes. They're getting ready to
emergency
leave.
mode.
Armageddon's coming. And yeah, I'm not
Yep.
reading the middle stuff that gets you there. I'm just reading the two extremes, but it's on the screen. You can pause it. And then finally, culture. So 60 plus books are a rarity, and the salons are worn down. You're like, salons? Yes, this game has tailors and salons. Remember, part of what your presence, your appearance is important, at least at the beginning. Yet the Enclave has a lively cultural life with literature, stage shows, and cinemas.
Sure.
Now, I'm not going to read the last one in this one. I'm going to read the second to last one.
Okay.
Conformity increases, and the few theaters and cinemas still in operation show almost only propaganda works that celebrate the houses and Elysium's great history. Now we get the World War II Nazi films.
Yep.
People begin broadcasting illegal messages of protest. Can't stop the signal now. Of protest over unauthorized radio stations, despite severe punishments. And that's not even the last one. So,
No, it's not
yeah.
great.
Anywho, so it becomes very dissonant. Everything is like support the cause. And now some of that's out of desperation because
Sure.
crap, if we're all not all singularly focused, we're all gonna die. But it's also a lot of selfishness because the houses won't give up the power. So it's all singularly focused on the house. We have to be the ones to do this. It's us. So anywho, and that's all I wanted to say on that part. Now this isn't going to be a new video. We'll run right into the next one. Why? So, and this is on page like 138 or something close to that. Got your Gauss rifles, your gyrojet pistols. We talked a little bit about that last week.
Mhm.
Is that a trumpet? What the hell is that? Ultrasonic carbine. Well, it looks like a
Oh,
trumpet.
I like that.
We talked about, I don't know if you watched the video, but we talked about biomechatronics last week and your machine
I saw
fever.
that. Yep. I saw that.
Yeah, where it's just almost like, why would you ever?
Well, I wouldn't put in a big one, but a little one's fine.
Now, some of this we already covered. Go back and watch the first video. I talked about a lot of this. So we're skipping to a specific part here. Hopefully I remember what it is. Is it playing the campaign? Yes, it is. Hold on. I have to make sure. Control. Yep, that is it. So this is the big part of what you'll be doing as the players. Now, yes, I am reading the Game Master section, and I think there might be a spoiler or two in here, but I'm going to stay away from them as much as possible. The point is to let you know what you're going to be doing and how it's going to be done, not to give away the super secrets of what's actually happening in the background. All right. So your job is to handle incidents. You're adjudicator. Something's happening in the world, and you got to go stop it, or maybe help it. So both parts of the campaign use what are known as incidents. Incidents are events in the Enclave that the PCs, as adjudicators, are sent to handle. All the campaign's incidents are described in the next chapter, and we are not going to cover that because that needs to be a surprise to you. Spoiler. An incident is like a short scenario, but most are open-ended. Oh, yes. There's one thing about Elysium. I don't want to say it's better than the other ones because any good game master can figure out how to do it anyway, but it's baked into the game better. This is definitely more sandboxy. It does have the incidences, but anything else outside of that is to the whims of your game master and what adventure he wants to put you onto this day, or maybe something you want to handle because of your house or because of your relationships that you write up on the character sheet. The point being is this one encourages a lot more sandboxiness. So, okay. Open-end lack of predetermined outcome. Yes. Instead, it is a situation that PCs can handle in many ways. Most, but not all, incidences occur in a geographically confined location, and each incident has an accompanying map. I didn't show the maps, but it comes with the game. An incident is meant to take about one gaming session to complete. That's true. Yeah, that's true. When I looked at them, I felt that I could do more with them to make them more than a session, but I get it. If you're doing a convention game, or if incidences are almost like a sidetrack to your game, they have to happen. They're the main story, but kind of side to how the characters are playing it, I could see that. I would actually embellish them more and make them more than one session, but that's my taste. Don't matter. So development levels. Incidences will often affect the development levels of the Enclave. As the GM, you're responsible for recording the current development levels on the Enclave sheet on the back of the book. I can show you guys that if you remind me at the end. There are special incidences. We're skipping those. You saw them on the screen, but we're going to skip those. So strategic power struggle between the houses is a battle for control, and that is... Okay, what page is that? 150? I lied. We're going to do this now. I'm going to show... Oops, a little far there. And now my computer's trying to catch up. You can do it. Okay, all right. So those are the incidences. And is this the control sheet? That's the development levels. That's your house. You'll write the numbers in here to determine what kind of influence you have. So total influence will determine how powerful your house is on the whole. And that's the character sheet. So.
Okay, so is there a way for your house to get so much influence that the other houses are basically dog crap?
Yes, but then I would say that your players were manipulating the game and not doing what they were supposed to do in the game.
With then they were doing what supposed to do, right? I mean, they were uplifting their house. That's their goal, right?
But each character is from a different house.
Someone was really good at it.
No, that could, well, again, that could technically happen. Yes. But again, your development levels are going to go down, so that isn't going to matter. Here, how about this? I think it's right here. Nope, that isn't it. This isn't it. It does talk in here about, crap, I don't want to show that. It does talk in here about what happens if you have, let's say you have 6 players in your game. Mm-hmm. There are only 4 houses. So that means 2 of the houses are going to have extra players. Right. Only 1 player gets to make the decision still. So there isn't a benefit to having somebody from another house. What with a lot of groups that I've seen online when I looked at forums, what they'll do is they'll rotate. Be like, okay, Heathen Dog, you make the decision for this week. Max, you make the decision for next week if we're from the same house.
Okay.
Or they can decide, you're the leader, you figure it out, I don't want anything to do with this part of the game. But ultimately, at the beginning of the campaign, each of the 4 houses has a total of 4 points of control. These 4 points are assigned in secret. Each player writes on a piece of paper which sectors he wants to have control in and how much, 1 or 2 points. These choices are then revealed at the same time. And if you remember when I showed that sheet a moment ago, it showed those sectors in.
Right.
That's asymmetric star. Everyone gets the control they wanted with one exception. If 2 or more players have assigned 2 points of control to the same sector, they each only get 1 point of control in that sector. The extra point is lost.
Suck.
Well, that's because you guys have been fighting so hard for that control. You've been using up your resources. You've been, calling in those chits, so on and so forth. Note that it is therefore possible for some players to start the campaign with less than 4 total points of control. Wouldn't it be funny if every single one that we wanted, I have no control. Tracking control, we talked about that. Total control. The total control of a house determines how many influence points each player gets at the beginning of each gaming session. Remember, influence are your contacts, are using your contacts. Choose incidents. When voting on which incident the PC's patrol is, oh my God, the PC patrol is to be sent on. That is such a weird sentence for me. Each player will vote with the total control of their house. Whew, let's see if I can read that again. When voting on which incident the PC patrol is sent on, each player will vote with the total control of their house. So that means when you're voting to do the patrol, if your house is winning, high probability you get to do the incident you want, right? But that's when the other players cockblock you.
Oh.
Nobody, if they're playing the game right, nobody wants to just say, hey, let's let the Heathen Doghouse win. No, they're going to be like, hey, we helped you last time. You got to help us this time.
No, burn in hell.
Well, then guess what? We're never going to vote for yours again. And us 3 players have more votes than you 1 player, and you're never going to get a vote again.
That's true, but assassination works.
Okay. Sure. Then another player from that house will take that spot.
And hopefully he will learn the lesson of his predecessor. If not, then there's always another new guy.
When everybody keeps dying like the Spinal Tap drummer.
Weird, yeah.
Something happens
to if people learn better, it wouldn't be as much dying. There'd be more supplication, but there wouldn't be as much dying. Get with the program.
Fair. When voting to appoint a new patrol leader, each player votes with the total control of the house. So your control determines how much you get for voting. And these are the different zones. We don't have to worry about this at this point. This is more of a GM thing. It's not that it's a spoiler, but it's a GM thing. And this kind of shows the control sheet filled in, just as an example. All right. Strategic rounds. The player-controlled elements of the campaign are managed during strategic rounds. Typically, a strategic round is played at the beginning of each gaming session, but it can be done less frequently or at the end of sessions if you or your group prefer that. During the strategic round, each player... Why am I not zoomed in on that more? I know some of you weirdos look at this stuff on phones. During the strategic round, each player represents not his PC, but the entire house. Remember, I had somebody complain.
This is a game in the game.
Yes.
Okay. This is how quickly your world crumbles around you depends on this strategic round system. So it is important for the main game, but you are working on a higher level here. You're working on the meta game now. You are representative of your entire faction, of your entire house, and you're voting on the direction that your group is going to go in some fashion. So it does affect the main game, but it is a part.
Yeah, but don't see it as, and you're right, but don't see it as you're playing your character at this point. No. Step outside. Because I had somebody write a pretty nasty comment about Gen Lab Alpha saying, there's no way that somebody coming in, some young character, blah, 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 is going to be running a resistance. It doesn't make sense. This game doesn't make sense. It's like, no. You're not playing your character. You can do it that way if you want at your table, but you're not playing your character at that point. You're representing the faction. Step out of your character and put it over here. And now represent the faction.
Yeah, you are a single house representative, or if you want to visualize it differently, you are a small conglomerate of high house officials, and you are voting to as a steering committee type thing on on the important things your house is going to do that week, that month, that year, whatever.
Yep. Is literally set up as not a role-playing endeavor. If you want to do that, you can. I like that idea, but I'm just saying it's not set up that way.
But at its core, this is meant to be, super mechanics.
Yes.
It's just meant to be backdrop for the continuing deterioration of the game, of the livable space in the game as a whole.
So the players secretly plan and stage incidences in the Enclave on behalf of their families. We haven't even got into how that's going to be done yet. The goal of this game is to increase the house's control in the sectors of the Enclave or to reduce the control of other houses. This should be highlighted and in bold.
Yeah, I got a problem with this kind of game. It reminds me too much of the board game Republic of Rome. I don't know if you ever played it.
I've heard of it. I haven't played it, but I've heard of it.
It is, if you want to lose friends and influence people, that's the game you play. If you have like 10 people and you want to call your friends, on Facebook, you just start deleting people. But in real life, you just play Republic of Rome. They'll fucking delete themselves. They'll leave your life forever because it's that backstabby of a game. And this thing is starting to sound a little like that. And I don't like it.
Yeah, I hear you. Generally speaking, I don't either. I don't like games that pit player characters against other player characters. Now
they're trying to sidestep this issue by saying, "Oh no, you're not actually playing your character. You're playing your house as a whole." So
but I still see you there. You still see me there.
Feel like that at the table, right? Yeah. Because you're looking at Joe and Joe's screwing you over.
Yep.
It's not me, man. It's not personal, dude. That's the worst thing you could say to someone while screwing them over. It's not personal. Then why? Then do it to somebody else. Do it to me.
Right. No. And you and I have talked about this with other games as well. This is something that I think, this is for some people. Some people love this concept and think it adds to the game. In a comedic game like Paranoia, it's just fun. Who cares? But in something like this, it's not as comedic. It gets very, the example I'll use with Heathen Dog, it reminds me of Battlelords of the 23rd century when you have a Fentari and Eridani in the same group, and you just know, would you two solve it? Just solve it now before we even get started.
Problem. You've got 5 minutes. Go. Hang on. Kokoshiko says we have to work together at the end. That's the problem. Since the metagame is so antagonistic and it directs the degradation of your whole world, it goes against the actual wants and needs of the people, and it's set up that way. It's set up as the reason society is crumbling on all fronts is because the houses serve themselves, not the Enclave as a whole. So it is the metagame and the game is antagonistic toward each other. That's why the whole place is failing. And if you don't have that, if you make the metagame, which if the players get together and say, no, we're going to work for the glory of all of us because we're not going to survive. The game has, well, you're not doing it right. It's like, well, that you can suck my toes because that's what we're going to do it. What's he going to do? Quit? He can, baby boy. You can quit.
The thing is you can theoretically do that. See, I would question certain things that the players do, but I wouldn't be against players saying, look, this shit isn't working. Okay. I got to stop cussing. This isn't working. We see this breakdown. Here's where the game master steps in though. The game master doesn't say, no, you can't do that. That's a bad game master. The game master starts questioning, or through the NPCs, like, wait a second here. You were sent out to stop this incident. And you, Mr. Dude over there, you were set up to encourage this incident. Why is none of this happening? You adjudicators are, behind the scenes aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. No, we're supposed to be stopping incidents. No, you know what the real score is. Overtly, we tell everybody you're stopping instances. Your job, Mr. Player Character, specific one-to-one that I'm talking to, because I'm your house leader and you're not, is to do what we tell you to or we'll replace you. Now, then it's up to the characters to either pretend to be part of it or to comply completely or to risk saying, screw you, you guys are the problem, which isn't smart. That's the thing. If you do it covertly, you're smart. And that is a good player character group. I would even suggest that you should be doing that. overtly, you need to be doing this. Does that make sense?
It does, but it feels bad.
I
It
agree.
just
I agree with you.
feels bad. You're screwing over the other players at your party with a relatively important part of the game, and it's built into it.
Mhm.
You and I both hate games that intentionally put the player versus the player.
Yep.
I mean, it just doesn't feel right.
But I do want to caution, because I know you've said it through the other ones that you were on here, about how that concept is dumb, and that if you were the players that you'd ignore some of that. My point is, the game master can't let you ignore it. But yes, you as player characters can ignore it. You just have to understand that there might be consequences. How far do you ignore it? And that's where the good game master comes in and starts to threaten you. Or maybe you guys are really subtle, and just the way the incidences pop out, it works for you. Because ultimately, Heathen Dog has the right of it. This isn't working. You just can't be overt about it. So.
Well, you can, but it has to go, to the childlike route. I mean, someone has to devolve into a child at that point, either the game master or the players. For example, if all the players, during this metagame go, no, we're not doing any of that crap. We are trying to help the society as a whole because we feel that's our job. And your house leaders go, no, we will fire you if you don't do this. It's
Push you down the shaft.
Yeah, throw me down the shaft. Okay, throw me down the shaft. You get thrown down the shaft. You make another character. He says the same thing. So the game master has a choice to make. The game master can choose to kill everyone every game session, or let it go. Now, who was childlike first? It's both of your children at this point. But the players will get their way, or the game master won't be able to play a game.
The flip side of that, and again, this is something you and I have talked about with relation to other games, because you're not wrong there, but we also, unless you've changed your mind on this, believe that players have a responsibility to fit within the setting. You have a responsibility to take the bait, so to speak.
Yes.
Now, the best solution to avoid all that is just say, you know what, I'm not interested in playing this game. Like, if that is such a big deal for you, and again, I'm not talking to Heathen Dog, I'm talking to everyone.
Sure.
If that's such a big deal for the player, then my suggestion would just be like, you know what, this is not a game I'm interested in doing. I would still play it because I want to play each one time. But I would just play it with this spirit because I know that's the intent, and just see where the chips fall where it may. But as soon as I could pick a different character, because I do like the mutants and the robots and the animals, I would go that route in the end anyway. So
yeah. Well, for this one, I would go the covert route, but I would make sure to try and record all the conversations with my house representative to be able to blackmail him soon in the future.
There you go.
To get off my nuts, let me do what I want and shut the hell up, or I'll ruin your entire family.
If you can get by with it, and I'm not saying you can't, I'm just saying if you can get by with that, yeah. I mean, there are many different ways. This is much more of a sandboxy game. Yeah. So one of the things I do want to caution, with all that said, I do want to caution for game masters, the houses are not omnipotent. And what I mean by that is, just because a player character said it or a player said it doesn't mean like, oh, they found out. No. Let the incidences play out as they play out. They have investigators. Don't think the adjudicators aren't being watched on some level. But they don't just instantly know, well, you were talking badly about blah, blah, blah. Well, how did you know about that? Because I was saying it while I was standing at the urinal talking to myself, whistling, Sweet Georgia Brown. Like, what the... like, how did that happen? Don't be a dick, game masters. At the same time, don't be a dick, players. All right. I think we beat that into the ground. What do you think?
Yep.
The incident stage and strategic rounds then become cases for the adjudicators to handle, either the PCs themselves or other patrols. More on that later. Staging incidences. I'm not going to talk too much about this, but the incidences are the actual official parts of the adventures, and there are 11 of them. Each incident is staged in a specific sector. Okay, 5 of them can only occur in the core. I gave you a little bit of information there, but understand this is how you get the control of those sectors. Each incident has 2 separate strategic effects: a starting effect and a final effect. The starting effect occurs immediately when the incident is revealed. Oh, somebody's attacking. Oh no! So that's the starting effect. No, let's use a current event. Oh, writers have gone on strike. Oh, geez, the writers are on strike. What's going to go on? What's going to happen? Don't you dare cross that line, you scab. Hey, adjudicators, you need to figure out what's going on. Go find out why they're striking and get them back to work because we all want to live here. The final effect only occurs if the adjudicators failed to resolve the incident, regardless of whether it was handled by PCs and role-played or handled by other adjudicators and resolved with a single roll of the die. Now, remember, it's like the resistance for
where several teams, depending on your resources at the time, your population, whatever, you can have several teams working on different problems at the same time. Well, in this time frame, I believe it was a month.
That was Gen Level. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, if it's like before, it would each team would work it for about a month, and it would either success or failure is determined by a die roll for the NPC groups of adjudicators that you sent doing the metagame, and then one of them is you guys in the real game. So,
yeah, I don't think a time frame was given for these because these incidences are. At least the ones that are the 11 are pretty role played out. I'm going to give an example of one, kind of a spoiler, but I won't tell what happens in it. One's a kidnapping. How long does it take to resolve that kidnapping? So, anywho, if the PCs handle the incident themselves, the GM will have the last word when judging whether they were successful or not. Sometimes it will be obvious. Sometimes it's more of a judgment call. It depends on how you handle stuff. Wiping them out and letting Nurgle sort them out might be an answer. But is that a win condition, a lose condition, or a condition? So, and it might just be determined by which house. So, typical incident effects are decreased development levels and changes in the control of a house in a sector. Remember, control of a sector can never go above 2 and never below 0. Sure. This is where it talks about more than 4 players. Just around only 1 player can represent each house. There you go. Less than 4 players, you'll have an NPC. The first strategic round, do I want to get into this? The game, each player's random.
I don't think the mechanics of it is really necessary, just that they understand the idea of it.
Well, part of this is mechanics, though. Incidents, cards, each player.
How much control and development levels can you lose if you fail an incident?
Well, that would give the secret sauce of the incidences.
Just as an example.
I'd have to show because I don't have the numbers memorized. It could be. I think it's 2d6 for most of them.
And what if you succeed in an incident? Can you gain development levels back, or is it always going down no matter what?
Always lost. And some of them have
a win. It goes down by a little. If you lose, it goes down by a lot.
Yes. Some of them have. Yeah. Well, everything's degrading. So there is, since I don't have the maps, I actually will skip this because it would be best to show on a map. And there is a picture of it. There are some things that are static, other adjudicators. Yes, you will be fighting. You could potentially go against other adjudicators. Here we go. So here's an example. Who won or who supported the incident? And this is where things get a little weird because there's always going to be one player who wants to stop the incident and one player who wants the incident to happen. Your job is to not get caught being one or the other. Well, stopping the incident, I guess, isn't so bad, but
yeah, that's your job, right? You can't be, overtly punished for doing your job correctly if it's your job to stop the incident officially.
Well, so each one of the incidences are programmed in by a house. So let's say your house Kilgore, okay? And your job is to make sure that somebody, well, just use this word here, somebody gets murdered. Well, you're adjudicator, you're supposed to stop that.
Sure.
So you have to somehow ensure that person gets murdered without the other 3 figuring out that you were, slow rolling.
Helping it happen.
Yeah. So, anywho, there were a couple of things in here I did want to assign new incidents, subsequent strategic rounds. Yeah, I'm getting a little nervous that some of this is spoilery. Okay, here we go. You play the cards. This is ultimately how it will look on the map. If these 2 are fails, these are successes, if I remember correctly. Remember, I have not played this through. I'm trying to remember the rules. So when things happen, you're going to say, okay, so who controls Hindenburg? Well, who's the green star? I forget. Well, we know this one's Kilgore. Oh, hold on. Yeah, these are okay. I got it. These are failures. These are undone. These are successes right here.
Plus, minus, and 0. Got it.
Yeah. So, and that's going to tell what you get for.
Now the
Points.
control, right?
Yes,
Control
thank
points.
you. I can't remember the terms yet.
Gain control points. You start with 4, but if you keep succeeding in incidents, you gain +1, +2. Now does that increase your maximum for games going forward in the metagame?
It increases your influence points. Now you don't get more control points in terms of going forward. You'll have what you have there for the control. Your house will gain more control overall. Here, let me scroll up. It's easier just to show on here. So, development levels, we know that those just keep going down. Control points starts with 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, as we saw before, and you have influence down here, which includes 4, 4, 3, 3. That's your total control. Those numbers will change, yes. So you could get this higher, and you could go down to 0 here. If you suck, but you'll never have more than 2 in any one particular zone. Sector. Sorry, the game keeps using different terms all over the place. I'm trying to remember each one. So there are 2 black boxes I want to read, and this is one of them. Selecting incidences. Players should think carefully when voting for what incident the PC will be sent to solve. It is often best for each player to try and send the PCs to the incident with the final effect that will be most detrimental to their house. Why does it say detrimental? Because the incidences are negatively affecting the houses. So you want to stop the one that's negatively affecting your house.
Sure.
As the players generally have a good chance of solving that incident. For the same reason, a player generally will not want to send the PCs to an incident staged by his own house. So we're going after House Heathen Dog. I'm going to let that happen. We're coming after House Max. Nope, that's got to stop. Adventurous players can bring it up a notch and try to send the PCs to the incident whose final effect would benefit his house, and then sabotage the patrol from the inside to make sure the group fails. That's a little tougher, and this is a risky tactic, as PC will be at risk of admonishment for misconduct. So the easiest way is just to convince people to solve the one for you.
Sure.
But remember, there's always going to be one person in the group who wants that incident to happen. And there was one other black box. Let's see if I can find it. This talks about the step-by-steps. I'll put that on the screen for the strategic round. And you can pause it. Pax, here it is. And I think this is the last thing to cover. I'll verify in a moment here. If 2 or 3 houses wish to cooperate during a strategic round, they can form a pact. This must be declared before the players decide which incidents to stage. The members of a pact can show each other which incidents are available to them and coordinate their plans. The members of a pact may not show each other the notes they give to the GM, however. It is entirely possible to betray a pact. A house can only be part of one pact at a time. A pact can at the most have 3 members, never all 4 houses. A pact only lasts for a single strategic round, but nothing stops the houses from reforming the same pact in the next round. So if you're all getting mad that Heathen Dogs, got all those points up, this is how you resolve that. You have to stop them. Well, what do you get out of it? Well, it doesn't matter what I get out of it. You get out of it. You get out of it. You're around for another. You have the ability. You can maybe stop me later, but we can't stop Heathen Dog if he wins this one. So, oh look, Warburg's up to 5 there now. It was 4 before. So, and there you go. Failed. I knew I knew there was one in here with the numbers on it. Successful. Okay, I was wrong. I thought this one was successful too. This one hasn't been flipped over. I just didn't know what the lightning bolts were. So this one's successful.
Okay.
And it looks like the gear people won it. I forget the names of the houses. So, and then window launch endgame, and you don't need to see Tom Zarek down there. That's Tom Zarek, isn't it?
It does look like him, doesn't it?
So, all right, let me get this off the screen so you're not cheating anymore. Yeah, I did skip. I kind of wanted to go through the step-by-steps, but that would have been another video. And while we are doing deep dives, this I think the overview portion of this is good enough, especially since I don't care about Mutant Elysium. Sorry. I'll say it here and now. I don't care
All
about
right.
Mutant Elysium. And
Okay, well, here's the takeaway. Okay, every game session you have a strategic round. You have the meta game, and you are not playing your characters. You're playing your house representatives. So this is the point where if you want all kumbaya during the game, we're all in this together, trying to keep the universe, our universe great. Well, this is the part in your overall game where you can say, screw you, guy. This is what's going to be, and throw traps at everybody else because you're not playing your character.
It's not my character.
It's not your. Yep. You are blameless in this. All
I'm
right.
playing
You're
my
screwing
house.
everyone over for the glory of House Harkonnen, whatever. Right. And then when you go play, it wasn't me. Wasn't me. It's my house. They're crazy up there. I don't know. They're sniffing lead. I don't know what they're doing up there, but it's what they're doing. And you see the entire world, your entire world, crumbling before you because mommy and daddy can't stop fighting. And halfway through, you can choose as players, I would, to forge a different path to, fix this, because no sane person, when they get to a certain point in the degradation of the world by other people for their own benefit, is going to look at that and go, no, I'm gonna let them keep living. No, you're not. At some point, there's going to be a civil war, and you better be on the right side of that. Whichever side that may be, in your opinion.
And remember,
Try and be
each
on the right.
house thinks it's the savior.
Yes.
So
but the
this
people on the
idea that's
ground-
like, we can work together. No. I've got the answer. You don't have the answer. I have the answer. Your answer. It's almost like religion. My God's better than your God.
I absolutely get it. But even though you represent your house, you are boots on the ground. You see what they don't see because they're in their lap of luxury. They don't see what's actually happening. Their machinations are destroying your entire society. And at some point, you have to decide whether you care about that or not. Because there's going to be a tipping point. The first one's going to be when you get below 60 in development levels. You're going to go, uh-oh. But then when you get to the next level down, you as player characters who have seen this happen, seen the faces of the people, all people that it affects, you got to make a decision. Do you keep doing it the same way, following the house's rules, doing their back alley deals and machinations and whatever, or do you stop it? And you as a player group have to choose. And the game master has to roll with whatever choice you make. That's what's got to happen. Because at that point, it wouldn't be proper role playing to just blindly walk ahead and, watching everything to crumble around you. Oh, my house is right, but the world's failing. That's because my house isn't in charge yet. I got to work harder. It doesn't make sense.
There's one thing I will put in there, and I'm only countering this because there's one aspect of the overall. Remember, each one of these games is a prelude, has its own story. Yeah. There's one aspect of the story I intentionally did not touch upon. It was hinted at. It was kind of talked about a little bit in the first Elysium episode that throws all of this on its face at some point. So, and that's the important part that will eventually come out and then really becomes a decision point for the characters. So, and there are multiple little treads on that. But at first, your house, even as a player character, your house is your family. Your family, you've been raised in it. You're the best. Again, you can look at almost every world religion. You can look at almost every nationalistic country, which throughout time, most countries were nationalistic. I lived in Kuwait. Each one of those countries out there thinks they're better than the country that's around them. You think you're the right example.
After a while though of living with an abusive family, you figure out that dad is, cooking meth and selling to children. Your sister is drugging and robbing people at clubs.
Have you studied history? No, they don't. Look at the Habsburgs.
And they are destroying the world, and there is your world, your family unit, and the cops are going to come sooner or later, and you're going to get dragged into it, even if you haven't done anything wrong like them. You're going to get dragged into it. So you got to make a decision. Do you want to be around for that and be painted with the same brush as your entire family when the crap really hits the fan and the people start dying in droves, or you want to go another way? There's going to be a crisis point. There's going to be a decision point where that has to happen.
There are a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah. So, either wait for that or do it earlier. I don't know. I would do it earlier, but yeah, I suppose you have to wait for the decision point to come around
I mean,
naturally.
you don't have to, but again, when everything is quote unquote hunky dory at first, and I said quote unquote for hunky dory. Wow. But when things are looking as normal as they've been, this is the world you know.
Yeah, it's
So
hard to justify change because there's
yeah,
no impetus for it,
yeah,
But like I said, as the developmental levels get lower,
yeah. But it's getting lower because of those assholes.
yeah,
Those
yeah,
people over
and
there.
that's exactly what your house thinks because they're not on the ground like you are. They don't see it. You have to be a special kind of retard to see all the things deteriorating in front of you and put blinders on. You have to be intentionally stupid.
When you if you saw the incidences, you could see how you're causing the problem. If you wouldn't be doing these things, this problem wouldn't be happening. Of course, in the background, well, hey, maybe you should take out Heathen Dog. Well, but Heathen Dog's trying to solve. Yeah, he's part of the problem over there. I bet you that he's the reason that things have been slow rolled. The whole point is it's all political machinations, and you know what? I'm not good at political machinations games. So there are a lot of examples that are no, there are some examples given in the book, some really good examples of how things play themselves out. The thing is I felt that they were spoilery, so you might be able to pause where I was going through the book and see some of them. But how houses handle certain aspects. Think about it. You've got a communication. You basically have a media empire as one of the houses. Don't think that doctored information can't come out about you.
Sure.
Well, what if you're that house? Great. You don't have to necessarily worry about doctored information coming out after you, but you do have to worry about, the assassins from, Kilgore. Or no, not Kilgore. That's the military house. Fortescue.
Sure.
So
All
any
right,
comments?
let's look at some chat here. We got
Yeah.
her really likes the artwork. And the artwork, well, about the time where he put that up there, we had the kid with the mask on who looked kind of afraid.
I mean, if you live
Yeah,
down
but
there, I can. There are areas where you have to wear a mask down there. Hell, environmental suits if you get way down into the deep.
fair enough. All right, and we have L says, "Why does all this look like an overly complicated game of terraforming Mars?"
I don't know.
You know what? I've been trying to figure out how to like this metagame as opposed to the other metagames in the Year Zero engine, and I can't. I am against any game that pits players against players, even if it's in a higher level metagame sense. I don't like it.
Even in
And
Paranoia, because I thought you liked Paranoia.
well, no, because it's all a joke. You're
Okay,
not.
fair.
It's a joke. All right, Paranoia is a joke game. You're supposed to have fun. Stabbing each other back is like shooting you with an Acme rocket. Whatever. That's what it's
Okay,
for.
that's fair.
Yeah. But in a game like this where, oh no, you have to role play your house, even though it is not only hurting the other players, it's hurting your whole world as a whole. You have to do it. Shut up.
Yeah, I think the main purpose of that was to not mimic the other games and to find a new way of having. I mean, how do you have in We're Living Underground Perfect Humanity instead of having just a survival based game, because there's more to the engine than just survival.
But you know what my whole thing on that is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it wasn't broke and you fixed it, and now it is. That's how I feel. They broke the metagame in this one and made it bad. That's just how I feel about it.
Is that it?
Yeah, that is it.
Oh, all right. Well, cool. Be sure to like, subscribe, share. If you don't like the fact that I skipped over some of the aspects, let me know. If you like the fact that I did skip over some of the aspects, let us know what you think about Mutant Elysium. In fact, I'm going to go one step further. This is the last one of the Mutant series. We're done with Mutant series. Next week starts Coriolis. And I've already started to reread Coriolis, and there are some things I forgot, so I'm glad I'm rereading it. I'm getting ready to go for that. Coriolis is the same basic system mechanics, but with a bunch of tweaks, a bunch of differences. And yes, we are going to cover it in-depthly. So if it seems to... What's that?
Is that a word? In-depthly?
It is now. Well, it has to be an adverb because I'm talking about how we're going to cover it.
Sure.
We're going to cover it we're going to go through the entire skill system again. We're going to go through because I'm not going to ask people to go watch a totally different style of game to figure this one out. And this one has differences, so we've got that. But we also got spaceships. We've got ground combat. Whole different type of skill system in terms of how you get your skills now. So they're similar but different, and that's why I picked that one next. I look forward to covering that next week. So tell us what you think completely of the Mutant series. Which one's your favorite Mutant Year Zero game? Is it Mutant Year Zero, Mutant Gen Lab Alpha, Mutant Mechatron, or Mutant Elysium? Are you looking forward to Mutant Ad Astra or Ad Astrum? I forget what they're going to call it. But looking forward to that, and I cannot wait to cover Coriolis. If you like space Arabs, it's basically Firefly, but instead of Chinese, it's going to be Arabic. Then it's game for you. So check for that out next week.